got money and music, shit, I'm NE. All these guys wanna claim that they on top. Hey, can't be serious. Wanna go against me and you think that I might stop? It can't be serious. Think that I ain't got money and driving that drop top? It can't be serious. I'ma come through looking like cash and you just not. They can't be serious. Hey. All these guys wanna claim that they on top. They can't be serious. Wanna go against me and you think that I might stop? They can't be serious. Think that I ain't got money and driving that drop top? It can't be serious. Hey. I'ma come through looking like cash and you just not. They can't be serious. Hey, hey, hey.
Back to the topics at hand. We're going to be, of course, talking about or giving our personal top 5 best and top 5 worst WWE and or AEW pay-per-views if they have any. So all right. So we're gonna obviously start off with our my favorite. I think it will be my top 5 worst pay-per-views. Yes. So I'll start off with my number 5. And my number 5 would have to be WWE Payback.
Oh,
remember that pay-per-view? The one pay-per-view that was like there was 2 pay-per-views in one month. But it was
they were like 2 weeks apart or a week apart or something like that, wasn't it?
Really weird. It was just a really weird time. Obviously, we had that the only match I remember from that pay-per-view was Roman Reigns against the Fiend, basically. Oh, it was a triple threat.
And Braun Strowman.
Yes, yeah. It was obviously the return of Roman Reigns. Fair enough. But the rest of the night was unforgettable. Was forgettable.
Wow. Okay.
It was. What even happened at that pay-per-view?
Exactly.
No, that was actually a pay-per-view that I was contemplating putting on my opposite list. Yeah, I'm very intrigued that you say that. They had the tag team match with Dominic and Ray. They had Biggie and Sheamus.
I don't remember that.
Okay,
Randy Orton and Keith Lee.
Yeah, of course. It was a random clean win for Keith Lee. I understand that, but again, it didn't
amount to nothing.
Admittedly, like Payback is one of those pay-per-views that still to this day I haven't watched. I think I remember saying that as well. Like I still haven't watched it to this day because I was busy that weekend, and it's one of the ones where it's like I'm meant to go back and watch it, but I just never did. And then when you look at like what did that actually achieve in the bigger picture or anything other than giving Reigns the belt, nothing.
It was like, and then you had the dead feud between Riddle and Corbin. There was also freaking Bobby Lashley defeating Apollo Crews for the United States title. That feud was dead in the water for me anyway. Really.
Riot Squad and the Iconics. Shayna Baszler and Jack
wasn't the Riot Squad and the Iconics on like the kickoff show or something?
Yeah, basically yes. They were in the pre-show. It was an absolutely forgettable random pay-per-view. Like no one asked would have 2 pay-per-views in 1 month. And
you only had 2 matches. You only had 2 women matches that were tag matches and no title match.
The women's the title match was the tag team match because it was when Nia and Shayna won.
No, I suppose they're both single champions as well at the time, weren't they?
Who?
Sasha Banks and Bayley.
Tag team championships were on the line, but neither of the Raw or SmackDown singles women's championship was on the line.
I think they were both champion at the time, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And then literally a few months later, Sasha Banks lost it to Asuka and blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Like I said, I hear you. Not the most memorable. I didn't think it was the most forgettable, but yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I liked Roman not coming out for ages and then just coming and scooping the title. That was cool. But
That
and the tag team match was all right. The tag team match was good between Ray and Murphy and Rollins and Mysterio, but I think by that point you guys were sick of the Mysterio storyline, to be fair. So I thought it was all right to me, but if you were watching that every week, I completely understand why you wouldn't.
110%. But yeah, that's my number 5. Mr. Rhymes, what is yours?
It is WWE's Survivor Series.
Oh wow!
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
everyone knows I ride for SmackDown. I feel like at the time SmackDown, even currently SmackDown is just, running rampant over Raw. Like, I don't know what they're doing on Raw or who's manning Raw and whatnot. Considering that's meant to be the show to watch, SmackDown is just like 10 times better and a lot easier to digest. But yet on the pay-per-view, you literally had the entire Raw brand like literally demolish SmackDown.
And not only that, sorry to cut you off, but not only that, but literally about 2 weeks prior, there was the draft, and then all of a sudden, like everyone's just moving allegiances, just
yeah.
It was really stupid. You just see like AJ
I hate that
Raw, and then he's at SmackDown. It's just like, yeah, I'm SmackDown till I die. Like, what the no?
Right, and it was so poorly, like, it was so poorly thought out and so poorly executed in comparison to last year's one. So 100%. In comparison to 2 years ago. So at 2018, it was when NXT was involved. Fair enough, I understand. Like I said, I feel like NXT was only included because of that SmackDown that NXT had to take over.
By the way. Yeah.
Is that 2019 Survivor Series? Oh yeah, sorry, 2019 Survivor Series. Yeah. So yes, because of that Saudi issue or whatever, NXT stepped up, and then that's why they thought, we've got something here. Let's put NXT at Survivor Series. Understandable, different elements, different everything and whatnot. Even that pay-per-view itself had some issues, but another story. But then 2020, it was like, you had a chance to kind of really, if you were going to take NXT out, then you had a chance to really kind of make it seem a bit more solid in terms of the brand supremacy thing and whatnot. And then also the way that, because it's one of the big four, I don't know if you guys ever actually listen to British radio or anything like that, but because I, have a radio when I'm at work and stuff like that, you actually hear the adverts on the radio. Like WWE were advertising Survivor Series, but they were advertising it as like which brand is more superior, Raw or SmackDown. Mm-hmm. So that's their kind of how they're marketing this pay-per-view. But yet on the pay-per-view itself, when you watch it, and if you go back and watch it, they don't actually mention what brand or is winning or anything like that. So you know how like every year they normally tally up, okay, so this brand has
they didn't bother with that this year. Yeah.
But yet Raw won everything. But then at the end of the night, they're still like, oh, which show do you think did better? Well, what did we just watch for the last 3 hours? I mean, Raw literally like wiped SmackDown the entire day, the washed SmackDown for the whole night. The only match SmackDown won was Roman Reigns. And even then Roman had to get help. So it was
didn't Sasha Banks win against Asuka?
That wasn't Asuka. Wait, did Sasha Banks win?
Yeah, she did. Yeah,
she did. Yes.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. But then in terms of like everything else, like literally like Raw was like Raw took the Battle Royal, Raw took the Team Raw, like it was 5-on-1, or like the whole team was sole survivors. What was it? Bobby Lashley beat Sami Zayn. Tag champs was in it.
Street Profits.
Street Profits. Yeah. But they Raw or SmackDown at the time?
SmackDown.
Okay. And then what's it called? Sasha Banks wins, Roman Reigns wins, but then every other thing, and like even the team matches, like SmackDown just got like completely wiped. So I was just like really disappointed in that. And it's like you kind of look forward to Survivor Series for those team matches, just for dynamics, just for matchups, just for everything like that. And this year I just didn't get that.
I think just the brand supremacy thing is wearing really thin. Because during that time I remember I was watching when it comes to a pay-per-view, WWE always go on their YouTube channel and replay all these previous matches that's related to the pay-per-view that's coming up. And there was like, Team DX versus Team RKO, or
that's what I meant.
Angle versus Team Angle versus Team Lesnar. Them ones are actually starting to miss now. They need to bring those kind of back, because there's more than one storyline merged into one match. Multiple storylines merged into one match, and it can be entertaining. You know what I mean? So they need to stop doing this brand supremacy thing, because especially when they now they're starting to have this draft a couple weeks prior to Survivor Series. It brings no value. There's these people, it doesn't hold up. So
I agree with you on that point, man.
Yeah, it was just poor timing for the draft, poor timing for the pay-per-view. Like I say, it was a solid idea, just a very poor execution.
Yeah.
So
and also
that's why.
Sorry, go on.
No, that's why for me it's like my number 5 worst.
And also shout out to the botched Undertaker entrance.
Oh God, yes, he like stood there.
I did see that. Yeah,
like 20 seconds waiting for them.
On your point, on your point about the storylines before, like you're absolutely right. Like back in the day, you had Team Lesnar versus Team Angle or whatever, but then on Raw it was Team Bischoff versus whoever, and like it didn't take away from the fact that there was a Raw and a SmackDown. It just almost treated it as two separate brands, which is what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you were really invested in Raw or SmackDown or both, and it was I like that, man. I think now it's literally just Raw versus SmackDown, women, men, and maybe a mid-card version on the pre-show as well. That's it. That's all you're getting. So
the last one was, I think, was when the Authority was around. I think that was the last one where it had a storyline where it was Team Authority versus Team, was it WWE or Team Cena? Yeah, that was the last one, and that's where you saw Steen come back. So, but yeah, they need to definitely bring that back because this I'm sure they must have seen by the reception and the numbers that this one compared to last year was an absolute dud. So I totally agree with you on that one. Rides, what's yours?
Number 5, I'm gonna go with Elimination Chamber 2020.
Understandable.
The reason why I go for that, so it wasn't the worst, but when I look at the scope of all the pay-per-views this year, even though Elimination Chamber isn't one of the big 4, to me it was always one of the pay-per-views that are supposed to be exciting. Like what you think about when it first started, Elimination Chamber, TLC, Extreme Rules, Money in the Bank. These are pay-per-views that they're basically gimmicky, but can be really good, or at least have the potential to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, like I said, I'm giving it number 5. It wasn't terrible, but it was just, if I didn't receive that pay-per-view, I wouldn't have missed anything. I mean, the tag team Elimination Chamber was good. I'll give that. But the main event with Shayna Baszler, and then the whole Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Shinsuke handicap match with Strowman was just boring. Although I thought it was funny when he won. I thought that was good. But just the match, just the build up in the match, trying to think what else was there. I think Street Profits faced Seth and Murphy.
Yeah.
Was that the one where was it Dawkins flipping shoved Seth out the way so hard? Do you remember that? Yeah, so he did that running thing. I think Dawkins did this just running barge into Seth and almost killed Seth. But outside of that, they had Aleister Black and AJ, which had the potential to be great, but Oh, I remember being disappointed at Bryan and Gulak because I thought this is gonna be wrestling, and they didn't let us have that. It was just a basic match.
That was at the opening match, wasn't it?
It might have even been on the pre-show. I can't remember.
It's pre-show. Yeah.
But I just remember like that being a match that clearly wasn't advertised or the main event, but I just thought as a fan, I'm going to sit back and enjoy proper wrestling with these two. And they just, it wasn't anything special, unfortunately. So Elimination Chamber is my number 5.
Understandable.
All right.
Matthew, what's your number 5, please?
I'm going to say Money in the Bank, to be honest.
Oh, okay. That's your least.
Because
this one. Why is that?
Because literally, I always hate the fact that Otis won the replays.
And he's been consistent with this.
Well, because I remember, when I think of the card, the card was good. I don't remember it, but I remember.
I don't remember if it was good.
Let me get it up. I got it. Yeah.
I remember Seth versus Drew. That was okay. Then the 2 Money in the Bank matches, and then after
it was one Money in the Bank match.
Oh yeah, but combined.
It's actually recorded as 2. There's a time limit for the women's and there's a time limit for the men's. So it's 2 running simultaneously.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I mean, Money in the Bank almost made my list as well. And because I always say that I always felt like I didn't understand why Oscar attacked Baron Corbin.
Doesn't make sense.
It did not make any sense. It had no relevance to it. It's understandable if the men and women are going to interact.
But Corbin wasn't going to go for a fucking briefcase. It didn't make
He's going to go for his briefcase.
Remember, we're talking about the scope of the whole pay-per-view, not that one little match.
No, that one little moment ruined that match, and that match was the saving grace of that pay-per-view. So, it's like...
And we're just going to go bypass the fact that Baron Corbin almost pretty much did double attempted murder.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm Ray and Alistair.
Well, apparently, did he... Did it come out that he knew that it was alleged, or he didn't know?
He just threw them out. He didn't give a fuck. But it was Ray, and honestly, it was just this. By the grace of God, there was like it was only a couple feet off the floor, and I just got a couple bruises and grazes. They were fine the next night. They showed up the next night on Raw. I was like, what the fuck?
Right. You're gonna throw them off the roof, and they're gonna be fine the next day. It's like, don't insult our intelligence.
Attempted murder. And it was.
Do you guys want a reminder of the matches, because it is pretty plain?
Yeah, please.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure it was like a Jeff Hardy and someone match, wasn't there?
Yeah, so you had Jeff. I don't know if this is in order, but you had Jeff Hardy and Cesaro.
Yes, dead.
You had a cluster F of a tag team fatal 4-way match between the New Day, John and Miz, Lucha House Party, and the Forgotten Sons. and then you had Bailey against Ain't Nobody Meaner Than Tamina.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Wow.
You had Strowman and Wyatt.
In his first form.
McIntyre and Seth. Asuka. Asuka, Carmella, Dana, woman. Yeah. Cool. And that was it. So, yeah, nothing really memorable. I think Drew and Seth was probably, if you're looking for like wrestling and a good match, it's probably the Drew and Seth match that was decent.
Yeah.
I don't think you really talk about anything else. I mean, I like the Money in the Bank match for it just being different and unique. I didn't hate it. I hated the outcome, but it's pretty forgettable.
Definitely.
Because I'm thinking, personally, out of all the Money in the Bank winners, like the only person that's was wasted as well as Damien Sandow.
Yeah.
Well.
That's such a missed opportunity.
Oh yeah, that's probably the biggest crime. Definitely 110%.
Crime? No, the biggest crime was Jack Swagger. Oh my God. that one was actually at WrestleMania as well. That was the biggest crime.
Wait,
that was the last one.
Swagger won. What are you talking about?
As I'm saying, no, that was the biggest crime. Are we talking about winners or are we talking about like outcomes?
I thought he was talking about failed.
I was talking about like winners in general, because I'm thinking Otis and Damien are shit.
Oh, right.
Oh! I thought you were saying like Damien had it and he didn't cash it in. What a waste! You're talking about him winning.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The biggest crime of someone winning in the bank to me was Jack Swagger at WrestleMania, and he couldn't even unhook it. So it was like, that was the biggest crime. Because in that particular match, how many people you had in that match that were potential to win or world champion material and whatnot? Jack Swagger win. It was so anticlimactic. It was like, ugh.
You got me thinking about all the past winners now, man.
And now also I think to this day, technically, no one has cashed in the Money in the Bank. Asuka didn't cash it in.
No. This year there's been none.
No one's cashed in. Technically, no one's cashed in so far. It's a fucking joke. It's starting to be a joke now, that thing, and it's a shame though, because obviously that's one of the most anticipated times of the year, the Money in the Bank, but they just completely fucked it, like you said. Yeah,
it's like, I feel like the last kind of Money in the Bank holders that kind of how can I put it? So other than Edge's first run, because when Edge had the briefcase, Edge actually was used in a main event capacity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he was still kind of being built as a star, and then he actually put it on the line against, was it Ric Flair or someone? No, he had a ladder match on Raw for the briefcase.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think it was Flair.
So he actually defended it to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had RVD.
Oh yeah, that was against Matt Hardy, and the loser would go to SmackDown.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
But I think he still defended it against Ric Flair, if I recall. I think maybe he defended it twice. I can't remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But and then what's it called? Then obviously when RVD had it, he defended it as well, because he defended it against Shelton Benjamin, Winner Takes All. And then it was like Money in the Bank winners kind of were something. I think the last Money in the Bank winner to actually be something was Dolph Ziggler, because he held it for like the full year and almost. And what's it called? He was defending it, like he defended it against John Cena. He was kind of semi Money in the Bank, and also didn't he have a match with, was it Edge or CM Punk at the Rumble? But he was Money in the Bank holder or something like that.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
So it was like
he was CM Punk, I think.
Yeah, because he was actually, like I was saying, he was actually like still kind of used in a meaningful manner.
Yeah,
and then it's like, I guess after that, I think all the Money in the Bank holders have been kind of like, you're almost just a random person with a briefcase or a jobber with a briefcase. So
yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, my number 4 is actually gonna be Money in the Bank as well. That's my your one's a bit over. So you pretty much nailed it all in the head. I'm not gonna replay it. It was absolute shoddiness. You know, I've said on my stuff. Yeah, it was absolute crap. I'm fine with how the women won it. Not obviously, I hated who won the men's one. The whole match was absolute. At the time, I think because we was like probably delirious with all the pandemic thing going on. We actually, at the time, I thought it was actually, okay, it's something refreshing. It's how often do we actually see a match at WWE headquarters? That was pretty cool. The concept was fine. But yeah, when looking back at it, yeah, it was an absolute, I think it was like a look into Vince McMahon's mind and how he sees things as things being funny and kooky. Like AJ was having PTSD. It was crazy. So go.
You guys have basically collectively said how you have a lot of disdain for the fact that Otis won. Yes. But how do you feel about Asuka winning?
Yeah, I wanted her to win. Yeah. I wanted her to win. She was my choice.
My choices were either Asuka or Shayna Baszler. Because Shayna Baszler wasn't fully buried yet. I thought that was going to be her resurgence because of that botch stuff with WrestleMania. So my choices were definitely either Asuka or Shayna.
I remember watching the match, and then when Asuka was there, fair enough, she kicked Corbin down, and I was mad confused. But when she was holding the briefcase, I was like, "Oh my god, is she gonna win it? Is she gonna win it?" And when she did, I was like, "Oh my god, Asuka won!" So I was actually mad happy that she won and stuff like that. But seeing as we're still on the topic of Money in the Bank, how do we feel about the same ending or whatever, like the way it ended? How do you feel about that being used twice on the same in the same space of pay-per-views? Because technically that ending was how the tag team triple threat ended at WrestleMania. Because Kofi Kingston and Jimmy Uso, they had the belt, and then they dropped it on Morrison, who dropped off the ladder, and so that's how he retained the belts.
I thought Morrison took it but fell.
No,
they had it, and then he was like there, and then I think he fell, and they dropped it.
They punched him, and then
he fell with them.
Yeah, he fell with them. Yeah, because it was on Velcro. Yeah. But it was.
They took it off, and same with Money in the Bank. So like in Money in the Bank, I think it was AJ Styles and someone else that took it down, and then they dropped it, and Otis caught it.
Yeah, it was. I think we didn't mind it with the tag team match because that was actually a great match. Like.
It was a good match.
It was a very good match. I was surprised that Morrison won it. I think Miz wasn't there because I think he was by himself, wasn't he? Yeah, he was because
all of them were by themselves.
He was potentially positive in it, so he was shielding.
They were all by themselves. Oh yeah, my
apologies. Yeah.
It was a triple threat. It was Kofi, one of the Usos, and John Morrison.
Yeah, you're right. So I thought Morrison was the weakest one, but to him winning it was a decent twist. I was not pissed about it. I was hoping that it was going to be big things for Morrison when he came back. Right now he's just pretty much the same guy that he was when he was there originally. I hate it, but yeah, I enjoyed that ending. Me personally, that ending more than the Otis one because there's nothing wrong with Morrison winning it. There's a lot of problems when Otis wins it.
True.
Simple as yeah.
Okay, so that's number 4.
So yes, who is Mr. Rhymes? What's your number 4?
My number 4 is this is like a tongue twister. WWE is the horror at Extreme Rules. Was that what it was called? The horror show at Extreme Rules?
Yes. Yep. God Almighty.
I will go with you. I think this was it the last pay-per-view to have? No. Yeah, this had a crowd. But it was the last. It was the last pay-per-view to have a cinematic match.
Right. Yes, it was. Yes.
And still to this day, I have not watched this Wyatt Swamp fight because at this point, the cinematic matches were kind of done. Like they were good for the three times that we had them.
Yeah.
So they were good for then, and they did those particular matches did their job. But by this time, it became a bit tedious, and then also to have it branded as the horror show at Extreme Rules just because you're having just because you're having an eye for an eye match, but then in terms of like the actual kind of event, nothing was horrific, nothing was terrible, and there was only like one gimmick, two. I'm looking at the match card now. Three gimmick matches. So on a whole match of seven matches on the card, only 3 of them were gimmicks. So like Owens and Murphy was a singles match, and that was on the pre-show. Tables match for the SmackDown tag team belts, and then you had a singles match for the SmackDown women's belt. Eye for an eye match, and then singles match for the Raw women's belt, and then Extreme Rules match between Ziggler and McIntyre. But it was only Extreme Rules for Ziggler, right?
Yeah.
Like it was only one-sided, and then the Swamp fight. So it's like you have all these matches where it's like, so it's Extreme Rules. I kind of miss like when Extreme Rules literally meant Extreme Rules. Like every single match was some kind of Extreme Rules. I think the last card to actually be like that was like ECW One Night Stand Extreme Rules, or maybe it was just called One Night Stand 2009 or 10, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But since then, it's like you have like maybe like 2 or 3 marquee Extreme matches, and then everything else is just a regular match. It's boring.
Yep, very, very much so. I agree. It's definitely lost its what's the word for it? It's lost its
Pizzazz,
110%. But yeah, you've pretty much nailed it on the head.
Right.
Rides, what's your one, please?
I am going to go for SummerSlam 2020 as my number 4, and I'll explain why. So
you're gonna have to. I might have to tip for this as well. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, to me, SummerSlam, like we said before about Survivor Series, it's supposed to be like.
Keep talking. Right back.
That was cool. Yeah. But yeah, the reason why I say SummerSlam is because I was explaining that I kind of feel as a Big 4 pay-per-view, you have a certain level of quality to live up to. So I'm not saying SummerSlam was terrible. I'm just saying it didn't. I think the card for SummerSlam and everything that happened on SummerSlam could have been another pay-per-view, a basic pay-per-view, and that's, I don't know, that was a bit of a letdown for me. I'm not gonna front and say that I know every single thing about it, but just doing my research and looking back on it, I just thought, I mean, you had Seth and Dominic, which I know everyone speaks highly of, and that was good.
That was a good match. Asuka and Sasha Banks had a good match.
Yeah, I thought Drew and Randy was probably decent as well from what I remember, but I don't know. The Fiend and Strowman, was anyone really talking about that? And that's a title match.
No one's talking about that. It was the main event, but no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
And then you had the Street Profits and Andrade and Garza, and I think at that time we'd probably seen that 96, maybe 97 times already.
Yes.
Was that when he got injured?
I don't know.
But, either way, everyone was tuned out of that feud.
And then wasn't the Mandy Sonya thing supposed to be a hair versus hair? Then it changed last minute. I know some personal stuff happened that we don't need to talk about, but it's just.
Oh, speaking of Sonya, go on. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, so. Do you see my point? Like, it's not that it was bad, but was it SummerSlam good? Like,
no.
So
that's what you're also missing out Apollo as well.
Was he at SummerSlam?
Yeah, it was Apollo versus
MVP.
One of the Hurt Business. Yeah.
He was facing MVP. Hurt Business won. I'm pretending like I remember. I got Wikipedia in front of me. But, MVP. You know, you like, it was MVP. I'm like looking right there. Hurt Business were not allowed at ringside, so it was 1-on-1. I think this was a follow-up because they previously had a match where Apollo didn't show up, and MVP, and that's when there was 2 titles or something like that. But I'm saying the whole thing wasn't even interesting to me, even though it had the Hurt Business. I think this was the early days of the Hurt Business, so it wasn't really like.
I totally get that.
SummerSlam is on the list.
Fair enough. That's the first surprise entrant. I must say that is very surprising, but fair enough. You
lot surprised me, man. Yeah, you lot gave me a couple of surprises. I think Survivor Series was a surprise, seeing that on the list for me. But fair enough.
You get where I'm coming from, though. Again, you talk about Big 4, and what was Survivor Series of quality for everyone, like in comparison to like even the prior. I mean, I know we can kind of attribute pay-per-views and whatnot, and rather than kind of see it as pay-per-views as a whole, you can sometimes just kind of compare it to last year's, because that's the most recent one. And it's like this year's Survivor Series was not better than last year. So you can't like go up and then go back down. Like you're meant to go up and just continue going up.
Yeah.
I will say that just very quickly that I think I would have liked to have seen the Raw, SmackDown, NXT aspect again. Yeah. And they didn't do that this year. So,
right.
You know. But yeah, that's it. Let's move. So I think it's Matthew's for number 4.
Four.
Yeah. I don't know if this one's going to be a surprise. I don't think it is. I'm going to go with Backlash.
Backlash?
Greatest Rumble. Greatest Rumble. Greatest wrestling.
Oh, the greatest wrestling match ever. Okay, yeah.
I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the pay-per-view.
Go on then. So what's your...
Because mainly...
We already know what you're going to say, right? There were certain parts of that pay-per-view that should not have happened, man. But carry on.
Because I'm thinking Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. I feel like Bobby Lashley should have won.
Wasn't he a champion at that point, though? Was he champion at that point?
Wasn't he what? No.
Oh, no. Drew still was.
No, I mean, was Bobby Lashley like US champion or some kind of champion? Was he doing anything at that point?
No, he wasn't champion.
Oh, no, that's before.
Okay.
I think at that point it was just him and MVP, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was he still with Lana? So he wasn't with Lana?
He was, but she was banned from ringside.
Yeah. So go on.
Okay.
And then the card itself just looks underwhelming because it like Apollo Crews versus Andrade. Like if it was in NXT, it probably would have been good, but
it
was just trash, really.
Yeah.
Then none of those matches stick out to me at all. Not even the main event, Edge versus Randy Orton.
Well, what did you think about that match, though?
Go on.
I don't think it was that good, if I'm being honest.
Was it the greatest of all time?
No way. No way.
You know what? I hear
you.
You
Have
because
to do a lot of work for it to be the freaking greatest of all time.
Yeah.
You know what? They did good. They did better than expected. It was, considering how long it was, you wouldn't expect a match to be able to be that good. At least not with those two. No disrespect, but they did some cool stuff, and I think people were still had the nostalgia of Edge as well in the mix. But greatest of all time, everyone knew it was never going to be the greatest of all time. And Lashley and MVP, Lashley and Drew being a championship match, the hype behind it wasn't there. On paper, just looking at the names, you have potential for a great match, but I don't think the build was there. I think at that time it was all about Edge and Orton, and the same with the Fiend and wait, who was this? What was the SmackDown main event on Backlash?
Braun Strowman and I think it was Braun Strowman, Miz and Morrison, right?
Oh, dead. So
that's what they were playing pranks on them and shit. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, cartoon and stuff, man. You already kind of have that whole trait that everyone thinks the SmackDown side is number 2, and then you do that to reinforce it. So it doesn't. I mean, like dead.
What is it? Was it? Do you think like last year is pretty much the worst year for taglines for pay-per-views from WWE? Like you had the greatest match ever, which is absolutely cringe. The horror show, best of the best, but they're open.
What was SummerSlam? Wasn't SummerSlam called something as well? It was SummerSlam like something you don't expect or something like that. So it was like some SummerSlam something.
Let's have a look. Hold on, let me get that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Sure. It was like you unexpected or something you don't expect.
There was like a lot of cringe taglines to these pay-per-views, and it's just. They really slack this year.
Something like you wouldn't see it coming or something like that.
Yeah,
you won't see it coming.
Short on that. Yeah,
like you won't see it coming.
You'll never see it coming. Yeah. I remember Randy Orton. So someone kept on
saying it, and that's the thing. Like wrestlers got to kind of include it in their promos as well.
Yeah, you'll never see it coming.
Yeah,
and it was just kind of like where was and all that really meant was Roman Reigns was returning.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Which was the cool part of the pay-per-view.
Yes, that's the best. Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of it.
But if a return at the end is the best part of the pay-per-view, then the pay-per-view itself has flopped.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you can't have like the best thing to happen, and the biggest thing to happen at the very end, and that's pretty much the saving.
Because that's risky as well. Because people, if some people watching the pay-per-view and it is a basic pay-per-view, as soon as that person counts 1, 2, 3. They pretty much switched off. They ain't gonna really watch the celebrations or anything like that. So it is a risky move, but yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
What did you guys think of the Orton Edge match in terms of actual like wrestling and storyline?
It was nice to see
psychology.
Yeah, the psychology. It was cool seeing them actually start it's been a while since you see people use wrestlers that use basically the move thief perk where they like steal each other's moves and stuff. That was pretty cool. The finish was pretty cool. It was surprising to see the Punk kick return. That was pretty cool. But yeah, it was definitely way overhyped. They could have done that to any other match. I don't think that match warranted that tagline or that kind of length of match, really, to be honest.
Right.
And look at because of that match, we lost Edge, and we don't even know if and when he's coming back. So yeah, it was all right, but definitely overhyped, and it shouldn't have been given the time that it got. It was over an hour, wasn't it? It was about an hour long, wasn't it?
I think it was like 45 minutes, 45, 48.
Felt long. It was freaking long.
I think if you include the entrances and all of that, maybe it was over an hour long. But I think the actual match itself was like 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, and the awful before they actually sorted the audio out, the crowd noises was just awful at that time. It's
at that time it was the actual in-house audience, and then they just added the effect for that match. Yeah.
But it was really it was really distorting. Like I remember, I think me and Raz were watching it at the same time, and we couldn't concentrate. It was really bad. It was really disorientating at the time. But yeah, that's why I think of that one. So okay, so
interesting. That was number 4, right?
Yes, that was number 4. Moving up to number 3. My one, pretty much, this one is pretty much universal. Everyone, the horror show at Extreme Rules is my number 3. Absolute cringe of a pay-per-view. I'm just gonna breeze through it. Yeah, like the eye for an eye match was absolutely horrible. The fake eye, and you see Seth projectile vomit. I know that for a fact that's Vince's idea. He loves that. He loves that shit. The swamp match, absolute snooze fest. It was kind of cool to see Bray Wyatt come back as the original Bray Wyatt. That was okay, but the rest of it was just lazy jump scare after lazy jump scare, and everything else was just shitty in between. Which also, by the way, which pay-per-view, but why I have it as an honorable mention, which pay-per-view had the my favorite match, or Rad's favorite match, the Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits?
That was Backlash.
Backlash. There we go.
Wasn't it?
I didn't want to say anything, but yeah.
It wasn't even a match, was it? It was just a segment, wasn't it?
But it was stupid match.
Cinematic match.
It wasn't a match. The match was technically no contest because they ended up fighting in the streets. Idiot.
And then it kind of just ended with them like being like, "We're the same," like that, right?
In the fucking bins.
They were buried on screen literally, and I don't know, Akira Tozawa with some giant, I don't know, man, a lot of stereotypical
fucking ninja.
Yes, in there.
I didn't want to. That's the guy that's hanging around with AJ Styles now, isn't it? He was Tozawa before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, honorable mention. I just remember that was oh shit, that travesty. But yeah, that's what I want to say. So yeah, my number 3 was horror show at Extreme Rules. I'm gonna switch it around. Rides, what's your number 3?
Well, you said Rides, right?
Yes.
Yeah, my number 3 was Backlash. So, and it's that's what I was waiting for. But I mean, if we just exclude that stupid match for a minute and just talk about everything else, let me try and get the card back up and try to remember myself. Oh yeah, so like we all kind of said, the Edge and Orton match, great. But
how long was it? How long was it?
It was, Jesus Christ, 44 minutes and 45 seconds.
See, I told you, it's like 45 minutes long.
Jesus.
And that would be bell to bell, innit? They're not including anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say much of this. We've already discussed it. The match was good. It wasn't great the way they were talking about it. And Drew and Bobby Lashley, I thought that was one of Drew's lesser hyped matches, considering all the matches he had at that point. And I don't care for Strowman versus Miz and Morrison. I'm sorry. And everything else, I mean, Sheamus and Jeff Hardy, their feud was ongoing at this point, or just starting. I'm pretty sure they had a decent match. But if your opening match or your low card match, mid card match is one of the better wrestling matches on a whole pay-per-view, then the whole pay-per-view isn't doing too well, is it? So
yeah, 110%.
But that's it. We can move on.
Matt,
Oh, and yeah, that the travesty with the Street Profits. I'll just get angry if I start talking about that again. I just thought that vexed me so much when that came on the TV, man. Like,
was you actually wanting an actual match?
Yeah, I think me and Rise were watching that at the same time. We were just like, "What did we just watch?"
Yeah, I was just.
You was quiet. You went off the mic. You was just insane. You was gone.
I will say though, that was the biggest swerve in terms of, I guess, they had the ball rolling with like all the big matches would be the cinematic performances.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and then to kind of have it a backlash where you're like, oh, so Edge and Orton are gonna have like this greatest wrestling match ever. I thought that match was gonna be something that was like a movie, like when you watch it, like, do you remember that film back in the day, like Ready to Rumble, or the WCW film?
Oh, yeah.
So it's something like that, like a cinematic match. I thought that's what they were gonna go for Edge and Orton. So I was like, oh, so we're gonna get that match, and then the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders got that, and then the greatest wrestling match was just filmed in a more
cinematic kind of cinematic-ish. They had the angles. They had. I totally agree. Yeah, I get
it. So it was like a big swerve. It's just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Like, oh.
It was just dead all round. They made, like, you're right. I think being 45 minutes, the main event could have been a cinematic match. I think the tag team match that was supposed to be was just dumb, because at that point I still hated the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders. People, we already know how everybody feels about their demise. So yeah, like I said, move on.
Let's move on.
Right.
Definitely. Matt, what's your number 3?
I'm gonna go with a different choice.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with NXT Takeover Portland.
What the fuck? Whoa, an NXT Takeover pay-per-view. Yo.
But Portland.
All right, everyone, say goodbye to Matt, please. He's been.
Hold on. No. We need to clarify this 100% right now. Portland.
Yeah, okay.
Portland as your number 3 worst.
I gotta hear this. Please.
Portland,
explain yourself,
as in Dijakovic and Keith Lee.
Hold on.
No, not that part. But there's other bits that.
Please.
Yeah, please go on.
I want to hear.
Yeah. Like, whoa.
They got time today, boy.
Yeah. We got all the time in the world right now. This doesn't even have to be filmed or anything. You have to.
This is your audition.
You're gonna say this.
We're waiting, nigga.
You need to say this. You need to back up every single one of your points here to a T.
All right. All I'll say is the rest of you don't speak. Let give me the floor.
That's fine. Right? Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. All right, go.
Okay.
Speak.
Okay. Okay. So Dominic Dijakovic versus Keith Lee. Yeah, that's good. Like, no problem with that. Okay. The Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley match, that's another thing that's a problem with me. Because personally, I believe that Bianca Belair should have got the title. Especially since the momentum that she had at the time. And the way they could have built it. Because the way it led to Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair at the end was just underwhelming to me. And I think in that sense, it's bad. Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano could have been better. Like,
and I just ask, was this the pay-per-view where Belair had the Black Lives Matter thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did watch that. I actually watched that whole pay-per-view. And I watched I think I watched the main event with you, Rob. I think. Yeah. Cool.
Right.
Yeah, carry on.
And then Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano, that was a squash match, pretty much. And I understand that was to like build up this momentum with Finn, but I feel like that could have been better. Like,
was that Garen, go on. Never mind.
I was gonna say,
I did think that about that match, that it wasn't the technical match that we probably expected.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that one.
But yeah,
and the main event with it like ending in Johnny Gargano screwing Tommaso, to me personally, it just seemed underwhelming. Like, that shock factor to me wasn't there.
It's like,
so you expected
it. It kind of just flipped it basically.
Yeah, because like to me, I didn't really expect it, but it's just the way I don't know.
It didn't have.
Like,
It
wasn't
had no
creative. It was
reason.
just a
Yeah,
flip.
there was no reason for it. Yeah, like there was a reason for when Tommaso Ciampa did it, but this one was just an excuse to make Johnny Gargano turn heel. I totally get that. Yeah,
basically,
I
yeah.
thought. Yeah, I thought that was a weak twit, like a weak excuse to turn him. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah.
So I thought, like, overall, if you compare like this pay-per-view to like other NXT ones, like this could have been way better than it was, literally.
So in comparison to other NXT pay-per-views, it was underwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean,
wasn't shit. It was just a weakness.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but I can understand that mentality. That's what I did with SummerSlam. I think like it's true. There's a certain level to live up to when you have that establishment, and if it didn't do that, yeah, I was curious to see what you thought about the Undisputed Era losing the titles.
I even found that a bit underwhelming.
I forgot.
The Broserweight.
Riddle and
That's the one, yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
it kind of meant because I think did they win the Dusty Classic?
They did. They won the.
Yeah,
Dusty-
they did, yeah.
Usually
the
people
tag
that win
tournament.
it, they have to win the title anyway. So obviously the Undisputed Era, they're like pretty much one of the greatest stables of all time. But yeah, like they had to lose it because they won the Dusty Classic. So and they were quite high. They were quite high on them. So yeah, for why not? I totally get your grievances with the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think this is all stuff that we've actually said before, so I can completely agree with you. But for number 3 on your top worst list, I don't
that's a bit aggressive. That's a bit aggressive.
I don't think it deserves that.
Side note.
Solid.
Side note. Am I making this up, or the Bruiserweight tag team was it originally 2 other people? Was one of them a replacement?
No, it was originally.
No, so Pete Dunne used to be. Pete Dunne calls himself a Bruiserweight, so he's
I know that.
Or anything like that. I think.
But did one of them team up with someone else, and that person got injured or something? Or am I making it up?
No, it was Riddle and Pete Dunne from the start, I believe.
It did change halfway, but I've forgotten the guy's name.
Yeah, I could have sworn one of them was a replacement, and then they did better as the new version. But,
due to this whole COVID thing.
Someone.
Yeah. Okay, my bad.
Someone got injured, but I can't.
I know it wasn't injured, but it was because of the whole COVID thing. Because I think someone like Pete couldn't come back to America.
Well, no, because Pete was already there. Because Pete was there for Portland. It was just that. Oh wait, hold on.
Old partner got replaced by Riddle.
No, so when they won the belts, they lost the belts to
Imperium.
Yeah, because Pete Dunne couldn't come back.
Okay.
So I think it was Riddle defending it in like a handicap match or something like that. Was it something like that?
It was Riddle and Timothy Thatcher.
Timothy Thatcher, yeah.
Yes.
And he turned on Riddle.
Right, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that was something different. But then that was after the fact. I thought you meant during the tournament. I'm pretty sure Pete Dunne and Riddle were a team.
Yeah.
Cool. Looking at it now, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you're right.
But back to what you were saying, Rhymes, you are very shocked at it being number 3, basically.
Yeah, because it's like because in terms of an NXT show, it's like, well, one, Portland, I'm pretty sure have never been known as one of the lively crowds. Like when you think of all the crowds in wrestling, you think of New York, Canada, like all them places like the UK, whatever, that have the lively crowds. Portland's never been high on the list, but that crowd was like amazing. So it's like and then when you just look at the match card, just the opening match alone is like the show stealer.
Yeah,
and then
that was the show stealer, yeah.
And then every match after that, I felt like, so I think even when you look back on one of our previous videos, I said that every single match did what it had to do, and every single match on the card was good. Like there was no filler position on that card. Unfortunately, every single match was good. Like even though you're trying to get over the match that just happened, you can't because this match is so good that you're into it. So it's like no match was a filler, no match was, you know, lesser than. It was like they were all good. But then I can understand where you're coming from in terms of you're saying that the matches, it probably didn't live up to what you thought a takeover should be. But 3 on your worst list, I think that's harsh. But you know, it is your list, so we have to kind of give you that.
Okay. Yeah, you made some valid points. Do I say them number 3? Yeah, that's another discussion. But it was probably one of the weakest ones at takeovers, judging by the card and the outcomes. I would agree. You made it for points. That's fair enough. So yeah, that's controversially Matt's number 3. What about you, right, Mr. Rhymes?
So I'm gonna be the one that switches up right now, and I'm gonna have to say my number 3 isn't even WWE. It isn't even AEW, but my number 3 will be Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory.
You're probably the only one in the UK that's probably watched it.
Right, oh my god! Like, so when they said that they finally got that one streaming view, it was me, folks. It was me. Tell her, like, I watched it earlier on today, so they probably didn't even get my stream for that pay-per-view. But yeah. So, and the only reason why I'm going to this is on even made the list is because as I'm watching it today, it felt very nostalgic to see that, you know, there is still a wrestling faction or a wrestling company out there that's still wrestling to no audience.
Hey guys, remember TNA?
mind you though, so that my little brother did say to me, like, you know, oh, but then aren't Impact wrestlers like used to that, performing to no one? But that's a different story. So you know, but I'm watching it and whatnot, and I'm watching the matches. Shout out for them doing intergender stuff and, you know, kind of really seeming equal for everything. But the production quality, I'm sorry, why is it so bad? Like, you know, the match itself, like the matches themselves, you can see that there are moments where where I guess the performers are calling it on the fly because they're like, you know, looking dazed or like acting like they don't know what's going on. You can hear them calling as well. So TNA need to Impact need to sort out their mics or either turn them down or something, because we can hear them calling the match and stuff. The commentators feel very WCW, as in like Josh Matthews and the other guy. They have many moments where they're like talking as if they don't know what's happening. Or there was a whole moment when, you know, when it pans from the ring to backstage, and whatnot, and they didn't turn off Josh Roberts. His name Josh Matthews. Sorry, Josh Roberts. What his name is?
Josh Matthews. Yeah.
Josh Matthews. Sorry, they didn't turn off his mic, so he's like, "Can someone come and sort out our audio issues, please?" I'm just there like, "Yo, did we just hear that?" Like he literally set out. It's like, "Oh, can someone come and sort out our audio issues?" And like I was like, "Yo, okay."
Lucky they didn't swear. Could someone sort out this fucking mic, please? It's pissing me off.
And then now when it goes backstage and they're doing like this weird, I guess Tara Valkyrie, whatever her name is, she was having a wedding or something, and but it was like all the people that were going to be involved in their gauntlet match that was going to come up. And then when they all had their little segment promo or whatever you want to call it, but then again, it all felt very kind of like the stars didn't know what they were saying or what they were doing. It pans to the next moment where you see Heath Slater and Rhino. Heath Slater went to start the promo, and then Rhino goes, "Oh wait, give them a minute," and then he looked off screen. So they're both kind of just standing there, and then you hear like this like audibles happening, and then the guy's like, "Okay, then so 5, 4."
Wow.
And then Heath Slater's like, "Yo, so blah," and he started cutting the promo. I'm like, so I had to rewind to make sure I saw what I thought I saw. And it's just like, yeah, you actually see he started the promo. Rhino's like, "No, wait, they're probably still over there." But then the camera was on them. And I'm assuming that Bound for Glory was live.
Yes, it was.
So
they're on Twitch. Yeah.
So that means that if you paid for this pay-per-view in any shape or form, or if I'm a paying customer, I don't expect to see this kind of shit. You see what I mean? This is like, you know,
terrible. What channel did that? Was that on Ben TV, Nollywood? What was that? Like, that production is mad.
Right? It's just like, it was so bad.
I mean, I've always thought TNA's production was mad. Like the backstage segments, I always found like painfully cringe because they kind of like WWE is almost too smooth. It's almost like unrealistic, but it's a show, so you accept it. TNA is like watching people actually talk in public. Like it's just like talking over people.
It's so messy. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm watching Bound for Glory today, and what's it called? It's being hyped as like their biggest night of the year. I think it's Bound for Glory their WrestleMania, or is that Slammiversary?
That's their that Slammiversary, or that, Bound for Glory is their WrestleMania. Yeah. Right.
So it's meant to be the biggest night of the year. Understandable, no fans. I get that. WrestleMania this year had no fans too. But it's just like, for a production that's meant to be your biggest night of the year, then I could care less. Like we shouldn't see certain shit going down in your production, and we are hearing people saying stuff. We're seeing people. It's just, and the thing is, when you're seeing a match, and so when I don't know. So we've all been to a live show here, right, Matt? Have you been to a live show?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you go to a live show, how like when you're there in person, you can see when the superstars are waiting for their moments, right? So like even though like on TV it looks very kind of okay, so what's on camera is what's on camera, but we can't see everything else. But then when you're there, I can see that person crawling around or positioning themselves where they need to be or feeding wherever they need to be and stuff like that. I get that. But on Impact, I'm watching their multi-cluster matches, and you can see people waiting for their moments, talking to each other. Like it's just like, yo, like this is messy. This is messy.
Sideshow.
And this is the reason. And literally, like, I'm not saying that the match card was bad, because it wasn't. The match card was actually pretty solid. But for things like that, which they irritate me. I'm not saying WWE get it right all the time, because they don't. Sometimes they make mistakes too, but
that's way too many. Like,
and it's a bit understandable if it's just a regular Impact, whatever they called it, their weekly show. Understandable if it's that, but it's not. It's Bound for Glory. It's their pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So technically, I should be a paying customer who's paid to watch this pay-per-view, and I'm seeing this bullshit. Like, no, I don't agree with that. So that's why they make number 3 on my list, because that was just terrible, like absolutely terrible. Can someone sort out my audio problems, please? Like. What? And it was so clear. It wasn't even like you hear him take it off and you can hear him so the mic is far away. It literally was on mic. He's like, can someone sort out my audio? And it's just like, yo.
Two, just to round it off, everyone's pretty much said this one. I think it was Rides. Is Elimination Chamber. Absolute bore fest, absolute cringe. The thing that really made me tune out was, of course, the women's main event. Obviously, it helped making Shayna look good, but it was really, I think, on Adam Blumpier's list, when he's saying the worst pay-per-views or matches or whatever, and he named that, he pretty much summed it up as a whole, in terms of it was just really awkward when someone came in for Shayna, she chokes them out, and then she just stands there awkwardly, just taunting everyone, and Asuka's dancing away. She's taunting Natalia and all this shit, and you just see her just walking around for 3 minutes doing absolutely nothing. Sure, Asuka put up a fight at the end, was completely just pointless. Sure, it made it look strong, but yeah, it was totally underwhelming. The rest of the card was completely forgettable. I think was another Matt Riddle against Baron Corbin that night. How embarrassing to me. I've not even flipping got the match card up. There we go. So yeah, so
you don't need it, bro.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah, Danny Bryan versus Gulak. Yeah, dead. Miz and Morrison versus New Day. Heavy Machinery, absolute cancelled. Absolutely dead. Absolutely awkward. Moving on. Mr. No. Rides. What's your number 2?
My number 2, it's nothing really to talk about. It's Extreme Rules, for pretty much the same reasons we've all talked about. It wasn't really extreme. Didn't live up to the hype. The Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins things was stupid. Let's move on.
Okay, fair enough. Matt, what's your number 2?
The funny thing is that mine was the same as Ride's. Extreme Rules.
Fair enough.
Smart man. Same reasons I assume.
Oh my
Pretty
god!
much, yeah.
We were all saying the same things. But I'm
All right, cool.
Actually, no. It won't be mine. It won't be my number 2. My number 2. Actually,
Okay.
No, not my number 2.
What's your number 2 then?
So my number 2 is Super Showdown.
Wow. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Shit.
So my number 2, Super Showdown. I cannot.
Super Showdown.
I cannot remember the majority of this card. I think I actually watched this like in the afternoon or something like that. It was just on in the background because it was on. I think my highlight of this one was actually like Naomi getting her big old entrance in Saudi Arabia. So I'll give it that. I think this is the one where they had that weird United States title. No, that weird gauntlet thing at the beginning.
Yep, the Kuwait trophy. Yes. Yeah. Where big old Taker comes in and fucking wasn't even scheduled for the blood clot match.
Yeah, and then he just like came in, he chokeslammed AJ, and then it's like boom, like he won the trophy and whatnot.
Which chokeslam as well.
Yeah, which they haven't spoken about or haven't anything since then. But you know, yeah, and then it's obviously for obvious reasons, the main event, like, you know, that was just dreadful. Whoever decided that needs to be shot. But you know,
close range, just don't move.
Right, it's just like the whole pay-per-view itself. I mean, if this is genuinely like the kind of stuff that we have to put up with or we have to tolerate for the simple fact that WWE are trying to keep their Saudi partners and everything happy and whatnot, then
yeah, because it's stuck in the fucking past. But
right.
Yeah. Like Yokozuna now.
Right. Yeah, it just wasn't great for me and completely washed off. So yeah, so I'm gonna go with Super Showdown for my number 2.
Because one thing quick, because I don't want to interrupt, but
go on.
I heard like a while back that those Saudi people thought that Andre the Giant was still alive.
Yeah, they wanted him back. They wanted to bring back Yokozuna. I'm not joking. I think they also wanted to ask. I think they asked if Lex Luger was still wrestling. I read somewhere that what's the other guy that died? Owen Hart. They wanted Owen Hart. They wanted Owen Hart against Yokozuna. I remember some madness.
Owen Hart. Oh my God.
Oh.
they really had the audacities or the balls to say to WWE, "Can you bring Owen Hart, a man who died live on their show?" And you're like, "Can you bring him back?" Oh my God.
Yeah, about that, Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they ain't Dragon Balls, so.
Yeah. Oh my God! Like, how do you? Yeah. You can't even. You know, like if someone did like a satirical comic show or comic strip, that's the kind of thing that you would like write on there. Like you'd write, okay, so this company, a person probably passed away at this company. Okay, then so let's ask, you know, that company, can you bring this person to perform for me? You know what I mean? But This is real life. Like they actually did that. They asked WWE to bring a wrestler who died on live TV. Yeah, you can't even write that.
You can't write it. You absolutely can't write
it. I mean, they could have said worse. They could have said bring back Chris Benoit. But,
like... They probably did. They probably did.
Oh, look, man, in Saudi Arabia, they kind of forget about death. So let's just move forward. And like...
Let's move swiftly on, because the reason why my number 1 is actually Super Showdown. So
his number 1 is Showdown. Okay,
that's my number 1. Just quickly rounding it off. Like, just obviously the 2-week Mountain Trophy match. My favorite segments of the night was when they were talking to Baron Corbin at the back, and then he basically said, Rise knows exactly what I'm gonna say. It was just like, I'm not gonna get the attention that I deserve. Heads are gonna roll. Now, if no one knows what that means, funny how that just a couple days before there was a crazy controversial thing that happened in Saudi Arabia involving a journalist, which involved what Baron Corbin said. Coincidence? I think not. But yeah, let's just move on. And then of course my absolute did that also have? Also, don't forget Brock Lesnar versus Ricochet.
Oh, that was so unfortunate. Oh my God, like, so upset for him.
Don't forget about that.
I don't know, man. I'll just roll into it. That's also my number 1. It was dead just for the same reason. Whoever was the booker for that match has a Confederate flag tattoo on their arm or something, because that was yo. 1 minute and 27 seconds, my boy. That's how long the match was. Wasn't
that longer than Kofi Kingston?
Come on, come on. You have to rub salt in the wound.
I mean, not gonna lie, that's my number 1 too. So
Yeah,
Like,
that's
Also, Super Showdown.
what is it
Yeah.
with Brock Lesnar against black superstars? It is squashing them. It's really, but yeah, it was just absolute cringe.
So basically, Chaos Rides and Matthew have the same number one for the same reason.
Yeah,
I'm
and
very
you
curious.
all chose my number 2, but then strangely enough, all of you guys' number 2 is my number 1. So because I chose Elimination Chamber for my worst pay-per-view of the year.
Wow,
Really?
Elimination Chamber beats that.
Look,
Wow.
Elimination Chamber was bad, but was it Super Showdown bad?
For me, it was only bad because Super Showdown, you can't honestly tell me that you saw the card or you saw Saudi show and you kind of thought after the ones that we've had prior that this one was going to be any better.
No, of course not. But that's
fair.
So you
don't go into that pay-per-view. We weren't let down. We expected it to be.
No, I didn't expect Goldberg. I didn't expect Goldberg to fucking win.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Goldberg. We didn't talk about Goldberg. Flipping hell.
Yeah, but in the same but in that capacity, it's like, you've seen previous Super Showdowns, excluding the Australia show, but you've seen previous Saudi shows, I should say, and the card might seem like it's stacked or seem like it's really good, but it just doesn't deliver. So you can't honestly sit there and be like, oh, so because it's going to be in a different part of Saudi, that it's going to instantly be a better card. It was still equally just as bad.
Yeah.
If not even worse. So I didn't go into that with any hopes. Whereas Elimination Chamber, I know chamber matches or chamber pay-per-views have the potential to set up WrestleMania. So therefore, at this particular one, fair enough, we weren't getting a men's chamber or anything like that. We got a tag team one, which I always think is sloppy when you don't have your championships in the chamber or whatever. But then in this case, they had the number 1 contender for Becky Lynch. But for me, it was a stupid concept to have it be for the Raw Women's Championship. I think that it should have been the SmackDown Women's Championship in the chamber, purely because the build-up for that was already set in stone for Shayna Baszler after she turned up on Raw and bit Becky Lynch on the neck or whatever. Yeah, that was the story.
You kind of have to suspend your belief and think, oh, Shayna might not win, which obviously wasn't going to happen. So I completely get you,
yeah.
So it's like, so they could have done something like, if they really wanted to build her, they could have just given her like so you know what they did with they did it with someone, or they used to do it at pay-per-views where they would do that thing where it's like, so the Royal Rumble winner, they would just have like a credible match at No Way Out or at that one between, set up their feud for WrestleMania. Do you know what I mean? So they could have just done something like Shayna Baszler has a match against, I don't know, someone who thinks that, or just has a random feud with a woman on the card, and then Becky Lynch is defending the title in the chamber, and then that kind of makes sense to build Shayna, but then also build up Becky Lynch to make you realize, okay, yeah, she still is champion, she's still gonna go. But because Baszler already attacked Becky Lynch, you've pretty much set that up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like that's set in stone. That's happening. So we don't need to sit through the chamber. However, if we are going to sit through the chamber, at least let every single woman perform, and then just have Shayna Baszler come out at the end and run through all of them. I can buy into that. Shayna Baszler coming out at like number 1 or number 2, whatever she came out at, and she's standing around in the whole chamber for the entire time. It was a waste. It was a waste of time. And it's like, it was just so poorly orchestrated and so everything. And the thing is that there was a crowd at this time as well. Mm-hmm. So there was no reason for this card to be so bad and so shoddily produced and stuff. So that was why that was my number 1.
Fair enough. Wow. So that is our top 5 worst pay-per-views, everybody. Pretty much almost similar. Some of them actually a couple shockers, I must say. But one that we can definitely agree on, that Super Showdown was absolute dog shit.
It was.
Yeah. I was thinking about it again. And at Rhymes, I hear everything you are saying, but I just really deeped and I was like, Super Showdown was a terrible pay-per-view. Like it was bad. Yeah. It was bad.
Even if Goldberg didn't win against Bray Wyatt, everything
else would have been bad.
It would have been. It was awful.
I'm pretty sure Roman Reigns had a match at that.
Yes, he did. He had a steel cage match against Baron Corbin. No one remembers.
And at that point, everyone was sick of the storyline. I think they'd already had like 7 matches
dog
already.
Food and all that shit. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hated it. It was it ran its course way too far. So yeah, like I said, I understand what you're saying about Elimination Chamber, but yeah, the Showdown was gotta be one of the worst.
But then for
long time, and we got DX versus Brothers of Destruction at freaking the year prior.
Crown Jewel, right?
Yeah, that was Crown Jewel, and that was an absolute cluster. For them to beat that, Jesus Christ. But yeah,
well, not forgetting Undertaker versus Goldberg as well.
Jesus Christ! You see,
that was they had 2 Saudi shows that year, didn't they? Was that 2 Saudi
shows? Yeah.
Last year.
Not yet.
So
not last year, the year before. yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait, so was Undertaker Goldberg before Undertaker Kane, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels? Weren't they in the same year?
Yes, Undertaker and Goldberg was last. Yeah, that was that was in September, and then Undertaker and that tag match that was earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like after WrestleMania or something like that.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and then last year we only had Super Showdown.
Yes.